All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. I apologize for getting started so late. We had some GoToWebinar technical issues going on. So hopefully they are resolved. It's Karen Otis here, and we are with Architect Your Epic Life. All right, so we're going to get going here. Okay, so today is going to be all about how to architect your epic life. And what do I mean by epic life? Well, it's got really three components to it. All right, you've got all three need to really be in place in order for your life to really be at its optimal level. So the first one is an extraordinary love life. We're talking about a love life that is where you are a partner sharing your life with someone. And we truly are meant to share our lives with somebody else. You know, as human beings, we're not meant to live, our life in solitude. We're not meant for aloneness. We really are about connecting with someone in a deep, soulful way. The second thing is an exhilarating career, a career that fully lights you up, right? So that you are ecstatic to get up in the morning and go to work because it doesn't feel like work. What it feels like is going to do what you love, what you are passionate about, and actually making money at it. And wouldn't that be amazing? And then the third thing is an exquisite lifestyle, a lifestyle that gives you the opportunity to have freedom to do what you want in this life, whether it's travel, whether it's studying, whether it's, really creating a large family, whatever it might be, to create that exquisite lifestyle where you have the opportunity to live the way you want to live. Okay, so I've got some questions for you. Hold on a minute, Max. Okay, let me check something here. All right, so the question I have for you is, I've got a few. Are you feeling that either your career life or your love life are not fully living up to your expectation? Okay, are you one of those people that, you thought by now you would have major happiness, right? That you would have gotten to where you wanted, you've got the life you love, and yet something isn't quite there. You've got that nagging feeling that something is, not as it should be. Your nagging feeling that there's like a hollowness or an emptiness happening in your life. The next question, do you feel like you keep trudging along, right? Trudging along your life, but you still don't have the career or love life that you really, really want? No matter what you do, that you can't seem to get that career that you love or that love life that knocks your socks off. Are you frustrated? Okay, I know some of you are probably going, yes, yes, yes to this one. Are you frustrated that dating never becomes or never leads to a solid relationship, right? That men out there, they want to stay in that dating mode, and you sometimes want to pull your hair out and go have that, where are we again conversation, right? That women tend to just hate. And some of you, are you afraid to even dip your toe into the dating pool? That it just sounds scary and no way, no thanks, and you don't even want to dip that toe in to give it a shot. All right, so if any of these are kind of resonating for you, then that means we have some work to do. All right, you might be wondering, who is this woman, meaning me? And so I want to introduce myself. My name's Karen Otis. I am an architect, have been an architect for over 25 years. I'm an author with a newly released book as of this past April. That's showing the first edition. The second edition is coming out already, and the title's been slightly shifted to Architect Your Epic Life. And I'm an expert life builder. I also developed the revolutionary architectural method that reveals and designs your ideal life, but doesn't just, keep it as a vision, keep it as a design, but actually makes it a full-fledged reality. So here's a picture of the new book of the second edition. It's getting fantastic reviews. I'm super grateful, super thankful about that. And it is, not only is it a book that will share what I went through, what I went through and my journey and what led me to these really interesting kind of groundbreaking results and method that I use. But it's also kind of a workbook so that you actually can do the 8 steps of what I call the architectural method right there in the book. And that's what gives you the results that you want. Okay, so as an architect, I want to just clarify something. So architecture to a lot of people just seems like this really intense, specialty that most people feel like, I know nothing about it. What in the world could that have to do with my life? So I want to share with you to simplify the concept, because it's really a very simple concept. Architecture is all about one thing. It really is. It's about taking a vision of something and taking it from vision to reality, taking what could be ordinary, but instead making it extraordinary. All right, so you can see with some of these images, I mean, this is extraordinary. This is the kind of, you know, um, construction of architecture that is like breathtaking, right? Where you go, oh, that is amazing. When you walk into a space like that, you just feel it. It literally takes your breath away. And the whole idea is that these buildings, these spaces, when experienced, do take your breath away because they are extraordinary. But then thinking about that, why can't we take our life, take our life instead of keeping it ordinary and really transform it into extraordinary, right? To not continue with just accepting the mundane, the monotony of it all, but really elevating it to something beautiful, extraordinary, that that your life then takes your breath away. We've got one life to live, and that's it, right? We've got one life to live, and you can either just live it, kind of moving along, going through the motions, and you know what I'm talking about, where maybe most of the week you're just like, it's okay. You're just, going through the daily grind, maybe looking forward to a weekend, but not really living at that amazing optimal level where you just love your life. And that's what I want to work on with you today. That's what I want to share with you, because I'm all about taking this one life that we have, making it phenomenal so that you are as happy as you can be. You find that ultimate love, that ultimate career, and your life is exactly how you wish it would be. All right, here's what we're going to cover today. We are going to cover 5 things. We're going to cover the reason that you might be feeling that internal ache, that something is missing, right? That nagging feeling, something's missing. We're going to cover why you feel that. We're going to cover the 3 must-dos to begin creating your epic life, okay? We're going to also look at what is the big shift that we have to make when going epic, right? What happens, what do we need to do to shift over from ordinary to extraordinary? What do we need to do? And then number 4, we're going to look at the 3 biggest mistakes that women make when dating, okay? If you are listening, type in like which of these is most interesting to you, if you could. And we're also going to look at number 5, how a simple architectural design of your life will have you in an extraordinary love life or an exhilarating career, and I kid you not, in less than 12 months. Okay? In less than 12 months, I'm going to show you how you can find that love of your life or create that epic career. All right, so which of these sounds most interesting to you? Feel free to go ahead and type that in. Okay, I am going to take you back a bit and give you some of my journey so that you can see what I learned, what my journey was all about. These are my 2 little ones at the time. This is way back in '99. So right now, those kids are grown up and adults. But at the time, 1999, I was what I thought happily married. I had been married for 12 years. I had 2 little ones, ages 5 and 8. And I found out about my then husband's 3-year affair. And it nearly it nearly devastated me beyond repair. Um, and I'm sure some women out there, you've had that experience. You know that horrific sense of betrayal, that horrible kind of slap in the face and ache. I know. And when I found out, I mean, I can vividly right now, and I still get a pit in my stomach every time I talk about this. I remember sitting on the kitchen floor, just sobbing and thinking, how in the world am I going to pick up the pieces and put my life together and the life of my two kids who were going to be devastated by this to see their dad not there. And I have to tell you, I mean, not only did my marriage fall apart, okay, but the other thing that happened, probably the even bigger thing, is that I lost complete faith in the universe, faith in my intuition. I mean, how did I not see this? He had been having an affair for 3 years right under my nose, and I didn't see it. And I had thought I was a very intuitive, insightful person. So that really took all self-esteem and knocked that right out of me. So I started to go through probably the darkest time in my life, and everything was falling apart on me emotionally. I was a mess. I was in this very untrusting place, angry place, sad place. I lost everything financially because there was no child support, no spousal support. Tried everything just to hang on to the house, which was like my security blanket for me and my kids. And it was a really, really awful time. And I remember thinking then, okay, what do I do to put my life back together? And what I did was I started to realize, because I started dating at this point too, eventually, kind of tried to get myself out there, and everything was just a mess, right? I mean, I had not really even dated ever because my ex-husband was like my first, right? My first love. And, I met him when I was like 17 years old. Well, I met him at 11 years old, but we started dating at 17. And so, I didn't know the dating world, and certainly not in 1999 when I was about 34. So I really was struggling. I would date a guy, and some of you know this, right? You date, and then you think you're falling in love, and it's all good, and then all of a sudden it falls apart on you, and then there's the breakup, and then you're alone again. And, repeat, rinse, repeat, right? It just keeps happening over and over. And I was literally the queen of 6-week relationships. Okay, because after 6 weeks, I'd be like, okay, this isn't working, and I'd want to end it because it wasn't right. And I started to see that what was super interesting is that in my personal life, I was reacting to everything thrown my way. I like to compare it to a pinball in a pinball machine, right? Where you're just thrown around, where you are just, constantly thrown around, and you are just reacting to whatever is basically coming at you, okay? And I realized that left me feeling very powerless, very much out of control. Okay, so if my kids would have a fit, I just react to that, handle that. Then whatever else, the ex wouldn't do something, whatever, or we get into an argument, and I would just react to that. But there was no kind of control of my life, of my own life. And what I realized is that in my personal life, this was what was happening. But in my professional life, it was smooth sailing. My professional life was flourishing as an architect. And I realized, well, in my professional life, I'm not reacting. I'm actually creating, which, if you look at it, it's the same exact letters flipped around. Okay, they're like polar opposites though. Reacting, you are just taking on what life decides to throw at you, what you're at the mercy of others. Creating, you're in a much more empowered place, right? You are not just saying, let life kind of come together, let it fix itself. You're saying, I'm going to get in front of it and I'm going to create it. And that was a huge, huge turning point for me, because I realized if I can start creating my life instead of reacting to it, if I can basically be the architect of my life rather than this, pinball, things could change dramatically. And they did. So this is the love of my life, Jeff. And I met him once I finally became the architect of my life. I turned everything around. I created a new way of thinking that takes the exact steps I use every day when I'm designing a building, right? I go through this kind of 8-step process that starts out envisioning something, and then after 7 more steps results in a very clear-cut way to get where you want to go. The blueprints, right? The instruction kind of manual that we give to contractors as architects. We give to contractors to basically create and build the vision we came up with. What's really interesting is, and this is really the key to what I call the architectural method that I developed, the key is, in Western culture, we make decisions based pretty much predominantly with our left brain. Okay, so we go through logic, we go through linear thinking, we are very strategic and analytical about our decisions, right? So, as examples, let's say with a career, whatever studied in school, then you think you need to get a job in that, but then if some other job makes more money, you need to do that. All of these are just analytical left brain thinking. The problem with that is we leave behind our soul. And when our soul is not happy and part of that equation, the result is unhappiness. So what we need to do instead is get our intuition, our soul involved earlier. And then when that is a part of our decision, that's how you find your ultimate happiness. So, and we'll get to that a little bit further. I'll kind of clarify that. But I met Jeff, love of my life, and everything changed when I did the architectural method to my life, when I decided to rebuild my life. I mean, it was extraordinary. We ended up then actually building a home together, which was a fun, amazing thing to do, and there it is. And we basically, in building that home together, created a whole new life for ourselves. So there you can see the inside. All right, so let's get to some nitty gritty. Okay, this is the picture of your brain. All right, so our brains have a left and a right hemisphere. The left, which you can see is all kind of gray here, is all about what I just mentioned: left brain thinking, analytical, logic, reason, strategy, etc. Okay, but look at the right side. Very different. That's where our intuition is. That's where our soul lives. That's where we have our creativity, we have our imagination, our happiness. That is a very different side. So what we do with this architectural method, what I did to my life, which is so transformational, is taking that type of thinking to your decision making about men, about career, whatever it might be, brings your intuition, which is so wise. It's like your know-how, your deep gut feelings. When you bring that into your decision making rather than the left brain, the results are incredible, and your soul knows. I mean, I'm telling you, your soul knows what you need, what you are thirsty for, what your life dream and vision is. So that's really the underlying key to it. Okay, so I have to tell you a fun little story, and then we're going to continue on to actually the steps of the architectural method and how they can really work for you. So hang in there with me. And I have a little gift at the end for you, so hang in. All right, so this is my mama right there. My mom is from Chile, South America. Both my parents were. And so what's interesting, and I want to share this because I learned something really interesting, even in the midst of all the yuck that I was going through, right? Remember the picture with, the broken marriage and just awful losing finances, losing self-esteem, all of that. When all that happened, and I was starting to think about trying this architectural method, I had a really amazing thing that occurred that has, to this day, still gives me chills and really changed the direction of my life completely. Okay, So here it goes. Here's my story for you. So I had just gotten divorced, and when I was married, my ex-husband and I, husband at the time, and I would always rent a limo for my birthday, get all our friends together, and we'd go out on the town, right? So first year, newly divorced, super sad. My mom said to me, hija, she's from Chile, right? So, hija, quiero que estás feliz. I want you to be happy. I'm getting you a limo for all your girlfriends, okay? And you go out and have fun, forget the guys, just you need to kind of wrap yourself up with all your gal pals and go do something fun, okay? So that is what, and you know what? Mamacita knows best, okay? Any of you are moms out there, moms know best. So when that happened, that was I called up all my friends, and it was scheduled for Saturday for my birthday. Saturday, it was October 26th, way back when, and it was a Saturday. And what happened is the night before that exciting, soiree was I went to bed the night before, and I had a really amazing dream, really. And so Friday night, the night before the actual event, I had a dream that is still so vivid. And in my dream, here it comes, was Fabio. I know. I can pretend to hear the Snickers out there. Yeah, I know. Not my type of guy. I hadn't just recently seen a movie or, I can't believe it's not butter commercial. I have no idea why he was in my dream, but I had no idea at the time. So he's in my dream, and in my dream he's at my house, and in my dream it is the night of going out for my birthday, and he's leaning up against my fireplace mantle, and he's reciting poetry in my dream. Okay, I know, I have a very vivid imagination. So he's reciting poetry, and I go up to him, I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I dropped off my girlfriend, I don't know. And he said, and I'm just here to wish you a happy birthday and recite poetry. And I said, okay, all, good and well, but it's a girls' night, so I need you to go. It's only girls, and so bye-bye. All right, that's the end of my dream, okay? So now it is Saturday, the day of my birthday. All my gals, arrive at my house, and we're all loading ourselves up into the limo. We go in this limo. Champagne is flowing. We're having a great time. We get to LA, to this restaurant, and all the girls rush in to go to the restroom, because too much champagne. And I went in to talk to the hostess to just say, hey, we're all here, so we're not late for our reservation. And she says to me, okay, great. I know it's a special occasion, so I've put you in a really great spot, but I want to show it to you. So she takes me upstairs. She goes, it's kind of like a private dining area. So we go upstairs, and I look into the room, and it's like there are two L-shaped kind of couches. It was a Japanese place, so kind of low couches. And that's it. The space is not that big. I don't know. It's probably, 20 by 20 feet. And I look at, and there's one L-shaped couch, and that's where it's all set up beautifully for my group. It's all decorated beautifully, like happy birthday stuff. And then there's only one other L-shaped couch, and I look over there, and I kid you not, who is over there is Fabio and four of his friends. You can't make this up. Okay, this is craziness. I know. And I was so stunned, and I immediately had to run and tell all my girls, oh my God, look. Now they were just super excited because they're like, oh my gosh, celebrity sighting, right? Not what I was excited about. I was excited that, are you kidding? How does that kind of thing happen? I mean, I don't believe in coincidences, but even if I did, this is one heck of a coincidence to have dreamt it the night before, and then here it is. So what that showed me was that the universe was trying to tell me something super important. And unfortunately, I didn't quite figure this out till years later, because I wasn't done, I just wasn't as wise yet. All right. My journey hadn't gotten there yet, but it told me what you envision manifests. Okay. So what you envision comes to be, manifests. All right, super powerful. And that really became a big part of what led me to create this architectural method, because the architectural method is all about architecturally coming up with a vision and making it manifest, right? It's coming up with a beautiful design and making that building manifest. So, here are the steps to the architectural method, and we're not going to go over all of them. There's just too many. I'm going to, I think, just touch on the first two. But with these 8 steps, what you end up doing is you start out very much with the right brain, really bringing intuition into your decision making, and then you finally evolve to the blueprint stage, where the construction documents, right, where you're really putting together a step-by-step on how to get to what you want. So a lot of other life coaches, which is why I don't call myself a life coach, I call myself a life builder. A lot of life coaches will help you see things a certain way or help you develop a vision, but that's it, right? Then you're kind of, okay, I see it, and there's a lot of, saying affirmations to get you there, and that's all great. But my method is different, because it's not about keeping it as a vision. It's about creating a vision that's strong and fully aligned with your soul, your intuition, and then creating it, making it actually happen, building it. Okay, so the steps are site study, which we'll get into, historical models, we will also delve into that, wish list, which is really about creating a list of what your wishes are and making sure they're yours, not somebody else's wishes for you. Absorbing, envisioning a vision. Like I said, a biggie is to fully envision what you want. Draw, and that I mean very metaphorically, let the vision lead, and construction document. So that's really what it is, and we're, like I said, just going to get into the first two. First one, step 1, site study. Okay, so when I am totally excited, I get a new project in architecture, right, and I'm ready to design it, the very first thing I do is go to the site where this building will sit, and I look at it, and I look at it to see, what are some features like this one. This is Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright, and there was an amazing waterfall there. So what features are there that are just, amazing, beautiful, we want to emphasize, we want to, make those a key part of our, the core of our design. Then, and so that's a fixed thing that we love, right? That's one type. Then we've got number 2 would be things that are changeable, like maybe there is, a kind of dilapidated shed on the property, and you want to, get rid of it, and it's changeable, you can eliminate it. That's a second kind of category. And then, most importantly, are the things that are fixed, we think, right? We think they're fixed, but maybe they're actually changeable. And typically in that category is where people get stuck. So if people get stuck in terms of making a decision for their life, it's usually because you think something is permanent and fixed, but it's not. And I'm going to give you an example in architecture and an example in life. And actually my life, I'll give you that example. So I was working on a project and hanging there with the architecture. I know that some of you are not necessarily interested in architecture, and you don't need to be for this at all. I just want to create the point for you so that you can see what I'm talking about. I was working on a project, and it had a pool there, but very dilapidated, falling apart, and we were doing a big addition and remodel. And no matter what I did to try to make the design work, keeping that pool where it was, because the client wanted to keep a pool, I could not get this design to work. I was literally stuck. And finally, I thought, wow, it's going to take so much to fix this pool. Maybe it's almost cost effective to just eliminate it and rebuild it somewhere else on the site and give myself the freedom to do the design without this pool right there. So I decided I'm going to try it that way, and then everything flowed. Okay, the design came together beautifully. The new location for the pool was right. It just all worked. Now I'll give you an example from my life. Okay, so you can see the intense similarity that happens here, and how an architectural design really is what can make things in your life epic. So when Jeff and I, who I already showed you a picture of my love, Jeff, when he and I had been dating for like 5 years, our kids were now out of the houses. We each lived about an hour apart. And we each owned our houses. And then the kids were all off to college or, starting their lives. And I thought, how are we going to move this relationship forward? We wanted to, but we could see no real way around it. He loved his city, Redondo Beach. I loved my house in Huntington Beach. And I thought, okay, how are we going to do this? And I finally started thinking of my own site study and looking at what's fixed and what's not. Now, I thought for sure keeping my house, which I had hung on to with claws during my divorce, right? I thought for sure that is a fixed thing. I am keeping that. It is my security blanket. No way in hell am I getting rid of it, right? And that's what was keeping me stuck, just like this pool, right? So I started thinking, well, for a moment, let me think about what if I sold my house and took the money from that and invested it, and we both owned a home in Redondo that we could then take Jeff's house pretty much to the ground because it needed to and create our home. That would solve so many things. I wouldn't be moving into the home he had lived in with his ex-wife, which did not feel like me and would have had me feeling like I wasn't in my own element for a very long time. And it kept us in the city he really loved and had grown up in. And it was the perfect solution. But as you can see, it took that same kind of architectural thinking, right? About looking at what is the one thing that I think is so fixed and permanent here that maybe isn't. Okay, and that's really what your site study is about. You want to hang on to the things that are amazing, make that the core of your design of your life, and really reevaluate the things that are not. So some questions for you then are, what parts of your site, of your personal life, are permanent? What are elements that you think are permanent but maybe are not? What do you want to enhance? What is the best part of your life that you want to keep? And maybe it is your job, or maybe it is where you live. Maybe it is being close to family, whatever that might be. And what problems do you need to mitigate or demolish to make room for something new? Okay, because again, this is about getting control of your life, being the architect of your life, not just waiting for life to fix itself. So these are the first questions that you have to do. This is one of the must-dos for an epic life. All right. Historical models is a second step. These are the only two steps that we're going to cover, really. And then I've got a whole boatload of great info for you, too. But of the architectural model of the that we work with, historical models. So after I check out the site, I look at, if I'm doing a new project, I look at the historical models, right? Architecture is really rich in history. It's a lot about learning from the past and moving forward with new ideas. There was Egyptian architecture, classical, Greek, Roman, and it all then developed. The column became, we started with that, then became walls, etc. And from that, what we learn is that the past is really where everything is rooted, where it comes from. It's not like we create architecture in a vacuum, right? There's a whole lot of history, rich history to it. The same can be said about our lives. We didn't just, pop in overnight. We have had a very lengthy history that is something to learn from. So the questions you would want to be asking yourself in historical models in this step of the architectural method is, what has brought you to this place of disappointment? Now, today's talk is much more about the dating and the love life rather than the epic career, but this can apply to both. And so if you're thinking more career-wise, this is absolutely applicable. We're focusing a little bit more on the love life today just because that's what we're coaching, or I shouldn't say that, I say life building about more than anything right now, but both are very applicable. So what's brought you to this place of disappointment? What has happened? What are the patterns in your history that maybe, you just keep repeating, but maybe, and you don't even realize it, are actually sabotaging you? And are your deepest desires, your wants, are those aligned with your needs? Okay, really different. You know, I'll give you an example of that. My pattern, when I was out there trying to, get into the dating world, and, when everything was kind of falling apart on me, I realized I kept picking the same type of man. And that man was always one that, their lives seemed to be kind of falling apart. And I think they were drawn to me, I was drawn to them, because I'm a fixer, I'm a nurturer, right? So there was familiarity in that, right? And I realized, though, the problem with that is this: strong, independent women, savvy gals, right? We make the mistake that we think if we're strong, that we need a weaker man, right? Because if not, we're going to butt heads, they're going to try to control us. We think we need a weaker man. And that is the biggest problem that's out there for successful women, okay? And the biggest mistake they made. So here we're on that one humongous mistake. I'm going to give that to you now. We'll get into the rest later. But the biggest mistake is that as successful women, we think we need a weaker man. And those are the type of men that I was, picking. I had a bad picker because what happens is they end up looking like adolescents, right? They end up looking to us like not fully strong enough, not man enough. And we look to them like a mother figure. And there is not a good dynamic there. It is not a good dynamic when that happens. It starts to affect everything in the relationship in a really negative way. So what I learned is that pattern was completely sabotaging me over and over and over. And when I discovered that through this architectural method that I applied to my life, this whole 8-step thing, is that we actually need, as successful women, we actually need a strong man, a man of inner strength, a man of outer strength, a man that is not controlling, because controlling is actually not a strength, it's a weakness. So it shows weakness. So that was something to learn, that there are strong, internally strong men that are not about controlling, but that are confident in themselves, that have a solidness, a certainty, a confidence in themselves that lets them stand upright. And as that woman who is with them, you look up to them, you respect them. And they have no concern or are not intimidated by your success, because if anything, they love it, because they love the partnership, and that same level of respect is mutual. So that was a biggie. So once I discovered my pattern, you want to quickly get rid of that and change it. And I started realizing that I thought I wanted that type of man, because I was definitely confusing being needed with being loved. Okay, savvy gals, they are not the same thing. It took me 10 years to figure that one out, okay? 10 years of some big heartache. So I'm hoping to help you with that. Don't make the mistake of thinking if you're needed, then they love you. It's very, very different. So we can get into that a little later. Okay, so I'm going to first just cover the 3 must-dos, like I said, the 3 must-dos to go epic, okay? And then we're going to go into more about the Savvy Gal syndrome. So the first one is dream and envision something way, way bigger. The bigger, the better. Sometimes we hold ourselves back. Like, let's say we're looking at, changing careers or doing something huge with our lives or moving to a new location. Think big, because we get in our own way. We basically minimize ourselves. We minimize ourselves. We don't give ourselves the benefit of thinking big, because anything is really possible. If you can envision it, it will manifest. So think big. Number 2, Determine what needs to be at the center, at the core of your life. So that's really about site study. Evaluate what is fixed and permanent, what is changeable. Really, really re-evaluate it. Okay, revisit what you've always thought. I thought always I was keeping that house in Huntington. Really dig deep and evaluate it from all angles, right? Architecture is all about thinking outside the box and looking at things from all angles. Third, dig deep to discover what has been holding you back. And maybe it is a pattern that you've been redoing. Maybe it is a fear. Maybe it is that your vision isn't clear and your vision doesn't hold in it what you truly want. So those are the 3 must-dos to start your epic life. Okay, 3 biggest mistakes we make as women when we're dating. All right. The first one, we haven't done the work, the inner work, to clear the clutter, okay, to clear the clutter from the past. What I mean by that is, every relationship you've had, whether it's been every date, every relationship that evolves, every love affair that you've had leaves its mark on you, okay? It does, and that mark on you has a perpetuating impact. Now, it can be a wonderful mark on you, right? Where you felt loved and desired, and that leaves you feeling worthy and all of that. But chances are, if it's a relationship that failed, chances are it leaves a negative mark. And we tend to pile those up and keep all of those, and we carry them into our next new relationship, which is not a good thing. Because, for example, I'll give you an example here of myself and of a client I've worked with that's okay with me sharing this. For myself, I could have left the relationship with my ex-husband completely hurt, betrayed, bitter, and not trusting. Okay, if I were to take all that into a new relationship, trust me, I would have ruined or sabotaged that relationship right away, because those may not have been the characteristics that I needed to, that were in this new relationship. Yet I was still holding on to all that clutter, all that heavy, heavy baggage. Okay, so you have to do the inner work to clear the clutter, and that's something that is vital. When I work with clients, that is a huge thing that we do. We really prepare you, position you for finding the love of your life by clearing the clutter, determining, what in your past is holding you back, is keeping you from really connecting with someone new. And typically it's this clutter that you've got there that needs to be processed. Have you ever had a breakup that was so painful that you just wanted to distract yourself, so you jumped right into going out with your friends or partying or whatever it might be, but distraction felt safer than really sitting in the grief? When that happens, you really are delaying any healing for yourself, okay? You're delaying any type of moving forward because you need to process before you walk away from that and before you enter something new. So clearing the clutter is I can't stress that enough. And most people don't take the time to clear that before they jump into the next thing. And that is the way that they're going to, basically assure themselves that they're going to fail at the next one. And that's where we get that really dreaded dating cycle, right? Where, like I mentioned before, it's that, meet someone, start to fall in love, something goes wrong, you break up, you're alone again, and rinse and repeat, right? So that's the way to put an immediate stop to that, to interrupt that pattern, is to clear the clutter. Okay, the next thing we do is we continue with our sabotaging patterns, like I mentioned, and we start to feel like, oh no, it's not us, it's that these men suck, right? I've heard from a lot of women, men in today's age are not really men anymore, that they, in fact, a couple of my clients mentioned that they feel like, these men just don't take women seriously. They don't take a relationship seriously. All they want to do is have repeated, flings. And I get it, and there certainly are those type of men out there. But what we do, one of our biggest mistakes, is we don't take on our part of the problem. Okay? If that is happening to you over and over again, you're doing something to perpetuate it. Okay? That's the cold hard truth here. You are doing something to attract those types of men, and you may not even be knowing what you're doing, but there is a way to stop that cycle, stop that way of selecting or choosing, your next date or relationship. And that's it takes some inner work, and it takes, really taking responsibility for what went wrong. And I know that can be hard and hurtful and yucky, but that's the way to start creating your life, creating your love life. And it's really about taking responsibility and knowing that you have a lot of control here in the way that your life, evolves. So the third one, we keep ourselves at the mercy of men. I'm going to clarify that. I know we have certainly gotten away from some of the traditional roles, which can be great, but typically it is still the guy that asks the girl out. And so we are typically at the mercy of waiting for them to ask us out. Now, we think that online dating kind of corrected that, but it didn't, and I'll tell you why. With online dating, here are what the statistics show. The stats show that there are more women than men that are on online dating, but that even though there are, it is still typically 9 out of 10 times, it is typically the guy that will initiate the conversation. Okay, so again, you're at the mercy of the men picking you. Okay, and when I did my online dating, which is how I met Jeff, I met him on Match.com, I did it completely differently. I like to say I turned it on its head. I turned the whole online dating on its head because, when you're on there, typically what you do, you put your picture, you wait for these guys to, contact you. So again, you're at the mercy of them. Then you might feel a lot of rejection if they don't, etc. Here's what I do. When I work with women, I'm going to tell you my big, big secret. This is my VIP secret, okay? Don't post a picture. I know that's like counterintuitive. You're thinking, oh, well, that's lame because no one's going to want to even then go out with me. Let me tell you what I did. And this is top secret stuff, okay? But this worked beautifully, and I know that it is really how I found Jeff. This is one of the really key secrets. What I did is I didn't post a picture. So what happens is no guys ask me out, which was just like I wanted. I wanted that because a lot of women, especially if you're, a beautiful girl out there, you're going to get totally overwhelmed by tons of guys, bombarding your email, winking or whatever, and you're just going to be overwhelmed. And you're going to be overwhelmed with these men that probably 3/4 of them are not what you would pick or want. And so you're frustrated. You feel, maybe you go on some dates, but they aren't good. So then you feel even more frustrated. Or you're just going to be so overwhelmed. You're like, that's it. I can't do this. This is way too much. And that happens to a lot of people. I've had clients that has happened. They're just like, I can't do online dating. It's just too much work, too much to figure out. Too many people are lying, etc. Here's the thing. What you want is no picture. They won't contact you. Then you sit down and you do what I jokingly call window shopping. Okay. And this is what I would do. I'd have my kids all ready to bed and I'd sit there at the computer, pour myself a glass of wine, and I'd window shop. What I mean is you're going through profiles. You're creating your list of what you want. You're putting in the parameters. So you are creating. You're not reacting. Okay. You are not at the mercy of the men. You're taking your life in your hands and doing this. So what you do, you pick. Okay. So for example, I ran across Jeff's profile. I read it and I thought, okay, wow, this seems really good. This seems like a good match for me. He's got, all the qualities that I am looking for. But as we all know, you never quite know. It's sort of like looking over a resume, right? But it's a start. So what I would do is I'm telling you this works. So write this down. I would then, and I had a really good profile that, a description of myself, of, I always recommend to people, if you have kids, that needs to be in your profile description of yourself. It's important. I also recommend do not talk about your ex in your profile. I've got a whole slew of really great tips on how to navigate through online dating and make it successful, which it really can be. And let me just say, this is kind of a tangent here, but let me just say that a lot of you might be thinking, I can't do online dating. I hate the whole concept. It's like creepiness factor involved. But here's the thing, this is the world we live in. Unless you're in college and you're out there, parties at night, new classes every other day, every semester, where you can meet all these new people, new prospects. After you get out of that world, you don't meet people like that anymore. You're not in this, you go to work, you've got your work friends, your other friends. It's pretty hard unless you're out there going to the clubs or bars. So you've got to learn to embrace the online dating, but have all the tools and strategies to do it right. So that's what I'm sharing with you. Okay, so my profile would be done. I would send a note to, through the site, through Match.com, to Jeff. For example, I sent him a thing saying, hey, I looked at your profile. I really think we might have a lot in common. Check out my profile. And I know I don't have a picture posted, but if my profile interests you, if it's what you're looking for, I will immediately email you a picture. Okay? So if you are interested, just give me your email address. So sure enough, here's what happens. The guys that are all about just your look, nothing more, they're not going to respond, okay? Which is great. You've just weeded out a whole bunch of people you don't want, okay? The guys that are intrigued, see, now Jeff was intrigued by that. He's like, she's not afraid to send her picture, but she just doesn't want it out there, and she's doing the selecting, which is actually really refreshing to some of these men. So you're getting the kind of guy that wants to read your whole profile, wants to know more about you, and will consider it. And then, of course, they want to see your picture, and men are visual, and that's perfectly fine. So he would respond, and then I would immediately send a photo, and they were like, the men that would do that, then they're reassured, okay, good, and, then we evaluate if the visual looks good to them. But that's really the way. That's a really neat strategy to try, because you will be weeding out a whole lot of men that are not the right pick for you, because what they want and what you want are very different. I mean, if you want just that, sexy, fun fling, then yes, go ahead. By all means, post pictures and make them as racy as you want. But if you're looking for that relationship, if you're looking for that profound love, you got to kind of be creative, think outside the box as to how to do it. All right, let's move on. I've got tons more tips, but I've got to keep moving. Okay, so instead of doing all that, here's what I want to tell you. Let's turn online dating on its head, right? Position you to stand out, fully stand out from the competition, and set yourself apart in the tough dating world. Because let's not, kid ourselves. It's tough to date. You've got to be resilient. You've got to have thick skin sometimes. It can be really full of rejection and heartache. So positioning yourself so you stand apart with certain strategies that we can use, that's where you're going to weed out the men you don't want, really attract the ones you do, and you're going to be in charge of picking your mate. Next is we're going to, instead, wouldn't it be great to learn how you can find your soulmate, and I kid you not, in less than 12 months, okay? And the reason it hasn't happened yet is because, we each do things in a certain way. We have a way of thinking, right? You've got your way of thinking. I've got my, architecturally driven way of thinking. And we tend to continue the way we think is how we continue to do things, all right? But the definition of insanity, right? The definition of insanity is when you are going to continue repeatedly doing something expecting a different result, okay? if you're on here, I have a feeling most of you have been doing the tough dating, and you might be, like I was, that serial dater, right? Um, and now, if you're going to continue what you're doing, chances are you are going to get the same sad result over and over and over. And you're not going to be able to break that cycle unless you introduce a new way of thinking and a new way of doing things. So also, you get the best insider tips, 100% support. I work with women and give 100% support to successfully date and find Mr. Fabulous, Mr. Wonderful. You can fill in the blank. So that is key, because having a different person working with you, giving you that insight, is the most important thing, because otherwise you're just going to continue to do things as you've been. All right, so for those of you, and I'm not going to sell anything today, so hang in there with me. I am absolutely not pitching a single thing to sell, okay? So are you looking for that genuine epic love, the kind of love that is profound, passionate, and powerful? I can get you there in less than 12 months. That's what I do, and I love doing it. Okay, why me? Here's why working with me to find your soulmate is unlike anything you have ever tried before. So if you've done this and done that and tried this technique and tried that and gone to a matchmaker or this, whatever, this is different, and I'll tell you why. One is, I am fully devoted and committed to your success. What matters to me is I want you to achieve results, and I maybe want that even more than you do, okay? Because I am on that side of, I found that delight in my life, and there is nothing more exciting than giving that to somebody else. I consider it a huge privilege to help people get there, just like I did. Okay, 2, working together, you will intuitively see things you have not before. We work on a lot of different techniques and things to get that right brain working to allow your intuition to surface. I like to say, don't let your eyesight lead, let your insight lead you. Okay, and that's what we do. We get it to where you are clearly hearing your intuitive voice. You are shutting down the chatter that is fear talking or old patterns talking. You shut that down and you're able to truly hear what your intuition tells you. And I actually teach people to tell the difference between your fearful voice, the monkey brain voice, and your intuitive, wise voice. And I actually think they sound different. I know that seems weird, but your kind of monkey brain or fearful, worrisome brain is like higher pitched and really fast talker. That's a fast talker. And then your intuition sounds deeper. It's more calming, and it is actually, so it's deeper in its, in its tone, and it's a much slower language. Okay, so it works very differently, and if you get good at hearing it, of telling the difference between your chatter voice and your intuitive voice, decisions about who you love, who you spend time with, how you evaluate if they're lying to you, all of that becomes very, very easy. All right. Working with me, you will think completely out of the box, and I will have you thinking creatively, right? With creativity and ingenuity, phenomenal results happen. You haven't made decisions like this before. You haven't evaluated your prospects like this before. You haven't picked men in this way before. So you'll feel 100% supported by me as we achieve your happiness and perfectly position you to make dating successful, right? For dating success. My clients see incredible results and their lives are forever changed. I want to share with you a couple of them. I've got 2 new ones here I wanted to put up. So if you're considering whether you should join Karen's Epic Love program, let me say, just do it. I struggled with relationships for years, and I always ended up in heartache. With Karen's program, all that changed. She has a different way of thinking and navigating the scary dating world. Hiring her to be my guide was the best thing I ever did. Now I am in the best relationship of my life, and that's Nancy. And she still is. She still really is. And so that's just so rewarding to hear. The next one is from Carrie. And Carrie really struggled for a number of years before I got to know her. The best decision I made last year was to join Karen's program. She gets results. I learned what I was doing over and over again to sabotage my relationships, and she helped me heal from some deep, unresolved heartache. She had some serious patterns that were not working for her. Working with her, meaning me, I found my soulmate and had the happiest year of my life. So what I want to do is, again, I said I'm not selling anything on this webinar. If you're ready for that epic love, then let's set up a pressure-free call to see if I can even be of help. And I have to tell you, if I don't think I can be of help, I won't suggest any of my programs or workshops for you, because I don't like to do that. I like to really select my clients knowing that I can turn their life around, because I really see it as a privilege to do that, and I want it to work for you and for me, right? I want it to be a success. All right, so whether you are looking for a new career, a hobby, or a newfound interest that lights you up, or you're searching for that significant person that lights you up, your soulmate, the architectural method, as I've shown you, holds answers that are completely new, enlightening, and truly work every single time. It's the groundbreaking way. It's a whole new way of thinking to create and build an epic life. Wouldn't you rather, rather than where you're at right now, because obviously there's a heartache in you or you wouldn't be on my webinar. Wouldn't you rather wake up each day energized, excited, right? Jazzed to do what you love or be with your ultimate knocks your socks off, I sometimes like to say, or knock your stilettos off kind of love. Feel like you are making the most of your individual life journey and feel excited, and happy living your most passionate life. Okay, wouldn't that all just be way better? Here's what you learn if you decide to, eventually, once we talk, then this is one of my programs that I want to just share with you. Again, not selling it on this at all, but I want to show you what could be for you, what could happen for you if you decide to look at a new approach for yourself. When I work with people, we determine your destructive patterns that sabotage you every time. We clear the negative thoughts and unresolved baggage, which a lot of people need. You will complete a personality assessment that I have that sheds light on who you are compatible with, and it may even surprise you. It's a really good assessment. We build the skills to evaluate your prospects clearly, right? Differently than how you've been doing it. It's not just about, did you get jitters in your tummy and were you all excited? We really help you build the skills to evaluate your prospects clearly and measure your compatibility. And you will learn my totally unique and top secret method, which I've already shared some of it today, for online dating. And it is the exact way. I'm going to show you the exact way. I did my profile, everything, how I dated, what I did, what techniques I used in terms of, how quickly I went from selecting them online to actually meeting them. All of these different tips I will give you. The exact way I found my love and who I've been with now for over 7 years. Work through any commitment concerns or fears that you have so they are truly, finally done and gone. The proven technique to smoothly transition from dating to a solid relationship that lasts. So you won't have to have that, okay, so where are we now conversation, right? That every woman pretty much hates and you always seem to find yourself in, right? Like, let's talk, where are we? We get rid of that in a really nice way. The skills, you're going to get the skills to maintain the spark and ignite the passion in your relationship, because it's not just about finding Mr. Right, right? It's about keeping and really sustaining that relationship. So imagine successfully building that epic life you have dreamed of, right? Where you are enjoying your life, sharing it with someone as it's meant to be. Sharing it with someone, maybe traveling with someone, sharing your, desires, your wants, what you want out of life, sharing that life. No more just wishing and waiting as your life ticks by. Okay? The longer you wait to do something, I like to say, the longer you wait to do something, the less time you'll have in that epic life. Think about it. Okay? No more thinking Mr. Right is a myth, which I know I used to think that when I was in, that heartache and struggling to figure it out. No more lonely Valentine's days, right? How many of you know what I'm saying? Type something in so I know. And then I really know. I see, Catherine, thank you, by the way, for the biggest mistakes when dating were the ones that you really wanted to hear. So yeah, type in, how many of you have hated Valentine's Day? It's like the dreaded day, you just wish you could eliminate it, that you could sleep through it. So, and Valentine's Day is approaching, savvy gals. So how great would it be to make it phenomenal? No more patterns that keep you from the relationship of your dreams. Isn't it time to rebuild, to get into that extraordinary love? But this, I'm going to tell you, this working with me is not for everyone. Okay, it's not. It's not for the people that feel like they don't have to change a thing, that they just haven't met the right guy, that what they're doing has no bearing. It's not for that type of person. It's not for the type of person that does not want constructive help in terms of changing their way. And but it is for you if you're really ready, you're tired of what you've been doing, you're ready to dig deep and do the work to rebuild your life. If you can commit the energy and the time, because it does take both, to completing the steps in the architectural method, and you feel life's disappointment and you are firmly ready to change that. Oh boy, I'm sorry, I got a really great answer to my question about Valentine's Day, and my heart goes out to you. That, this is very true, that usually you're in the relationship for Valentine's Day, but it ends about 2 weeks after it. Oh, yeah, been there myself. Okay, so if you're firmly ready to change all that, so here's the cold hard truth though, okay? This is really, and this slide isn't perfectly aligned, sorry about that. The truth is, you cannot, and I truly mean this, you cannot do this alone, because you'll continue with that dreaded dating cycle and get your same results. Because again, you are pursuing your love life the way that your mind works and thinks, right? So how could it be any different the next time you go try it? It really, really needs, you need to shake things up. You need to flip your strategy around completely. You need a new method, a new way of thinking, a new approach, and new strategies. And that can only come from someone else's new way of thinking. And you need your very own guide to navigate the dating world with success. So, like I said, not selling anything on this. I would love it if you feel like this whole thing resonates for you. If you go, oh yeah, I know what she's talking about. Oh my gosh, I'm so done with what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, I need this help. What do I do? I want you to go to my website, www.architectyourepiclife.com, and go to /call, CALL. Okay, because what I want you to do is go to that, and you will be signing up for an absolutely free personality assessment and chat with me personally, to see how I can be of help. And if I have some way to help you, we'll talk about that. And if I don't, I will listen, we'll get to know each other some more, and I'll share the best I can, where I think you should go from here. But it's just a pressure-free, seriously, because I do not like pressure sales. In fact, if pressure sales happen to me, I walk. So you're not going to get that from me. A totally free chat that is going to be, and I'm making this available to you, and it'll probably be like a 45-minute call. If we need an hour, we need an hour to see where you are with your love life. And if some of you are calling more about your career life, that's perfectly fine too. Where you are with your life, why it's not epic, and how could it get to being epic. Now, this is the honest truth again, sorry, but most of you won't do anything, okay? And I know that. Most people consider, making a shift in their thinking, but most don't do anything to change their predicament. You got to decide if you are the type that just wants to kind of be bummed about it, complain about it, and just stay in it. And if that's the case, I guarantee you nothing will change, okay? Nothing's going to change because life does not fix itself. It does not fix itself. You have to stop reacting to life, getting ahead of it, and start creating your life. For those that take that step now, that want that different kind of thinking, everything will change. Absolutely everything changes. So again, that's where you need to go, to architectyourepiclife.com/call. Again, you probably want to look up the word, how to write, or write it down from this, architect, because let me tell you, I'd say 80% of this world does not know how to spell architect other than architects. And let's get on a chat and see, what we can do. Now, for the first 5 people that do this, you're going to get a free signed copy of my book. Okay, so we'll end up connecting, and I'm going to be sending that out to you, and it will be a huge jumpstart to your personal transformation. All right, so let me see. Before I dash off, are there any questions? I am looking here. I'll give you guys a minute if you'd like to. If not, we will leave it that I will chat with you if you are going to make a step and make that change. And if not, if you feel like you're not wanting to, you want to keep things as is, then at least thank you so much for joining me today. And I do wish you the best of luck. Hopefully love, comes your way. And but I do guarantee you, work with me and you've got 12 months, we will get you with the love of your life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it. Have a phenomenal day. Okay, bye-bye.